So, how do we launch formative tasks? We like to think that it's a pretty simple process, and there's four basic steps outlined here in this box. Let's think about this third grade formative task. It's from the first day of division. A school's urban farm wants to donate tomatoes to four local summer camps. They have 28 tomatoes and want to give each summer camp an equal amount. How many tomatoes will each summer camp receive? Show or explain your thinking. If that were my formative task, before I even read it, I would want to engage relevant background. Before I pass it out, before I project the problem, I might project a picture of kids playing at a summer camp or of an urban farm. I would ask students questions. Do you grow any vegetables at home? How about any herbs? I want to think about what might be barriers to my students entering the problem and ask questions that get them engaged. Then we'd read the problem together. Maybe I'd read it once, maybe twice, maybe even three times. And while I'm reading it, I'm asking students to make a movie in their mind. Picture this problem. Don't just think about the words as words, think of them as a story. And when we're done reading that story, I would want them to retell it. Turn and talk to your neighbor. Tell them what the story was about in your own words. I would have two or three students share out what was happening in that problem. Again, in your own words. And what is the question asking in your own words? I keep saying in your own words because the point is we don't want to just regurgitate what we see written. We want to make sense of it, make it our own. So, those are the things I did do. What didn't I do? I didn't suggest or ask for strategies. I never want to say, so do we think this is a multiplication problem? How are we going to solve it? If I ask or suggest strategies, I'm not giving opportunities for students to make sense of the math. The other thing I didn't do was I didn't look for keywords like in all together, more than, less than. And I didn't use strategies like cubes. So I confess, many years ago, I did use keywords and I did use cubes. Those are strategies that can be really tempting. So I want to think about why we might want to avoid them. Based on a lot of research, here are three big ideas. The first two kind of go together. Keywords undermine our efforts to create problem solvers, and they send the message that math doesn't exist in the real world. If we tell our students, here's a poster of keywords on the wall, use them to crack the code, what's happening in the problem? You don't even have to read it. You don't even have to make sense of it. You just have to find the code. We're not telling them to be problem solvers and thinkers. We're removing those opportunities from them. And removing those opportunities is an equity and access issue. Julie Dixon writes, students who struggle with reading and or math are more likely to be taught to use keywords to solve math problems than their peers. The justification for this practice is obvious. They're struggling, and keyword instruction helps them get more answers correct. Maybe. But that's not a good enough justification. This practice does more harm than good. When students are singled out for keyword instruction, their access to problem solving and mathematical reasoning is restricted. When this access is limited, there is less opportunity to develop perseverance. It's an issue of equity and must be stopped. So, if keywords and cubes take away our students' opportunities to be problem solvers and thinkers and tell them math doesn't exist in the real world, one of the reasons we still might think, I want to do it, is because at least it will help them get the right answers, right? Wrong. The reality is that there's a lot of questions like this one in the box where keywords and cubes don't even work. Research has shown that, in fact, in multi-step word problems on state assessments, they work less than 10% of the time. Keywords can be misleading. They can trick you. So not only are they problematic because they don't support our students to think and learn and grow, but they don't even always work. So let's think about cubes a little bit. You see a poster on the right that identifies the 5 different steps of cubes. And I know it's tempting. We want to give students something concrete to grab onto when they see a scary word problem. But how many times have you seen your students diligently circle, underline, and box, only to not actually have any idea what the problem is asking? Our goal isn't to maybe get a right answer on a single question. Our goal is to develop problem solvers and thinkers, and cubes takes away that opportunity.